Club. We are back here with another live for you guys. This one's about a topic we actually covered just a couple weeks ago. I think Saturday before last, we posted this topic on the channel. If you want to go check that out, the link is below for the original video. But what it's all about is the different ways that men kind of approach dating and relationships. And we've kind of boiled it down to three different things. Without without getting too far into it, I'm Chase. This is my good friend Jared here.
What's up, kids? First all, happy Easter. We're coming into a religious holiday, so if you do celebrate this, happy Easter. If you don't, well, that's fine too. I'm glad you guys are here tuning into this. I'm actually down here in North Carolina for a couple days, still working, of course. And so this topic, when we posted it on YouTube, it had a lot of it
Yeah, you
had
got a
some
lot of
pretty good
traction.
traction. So and so I figured we should definitely talk more about this because there is some confusion on
Well, the thing
this
is, too,
that
is I think that this is a
the question.
way bigger topic too. Like this is a massive topic, like something that you could really create a whole course around in and of itself. Because like this is like the cornerstone of how you would approach any relationship. Like what it reminds me of is Robert Greene's book, "The Law" or the Art of Seduction. The Art of Seduction. Like I think that's probably one of the best dating books there is or ever was. Mostly because it was really good for sales for me. That's why I picked it up. I pick up a lot of dating books because it's really good for like building relationships and sales. And like a lot of the cornerstones of it is really being more interested in the other person. And a lot of this comes down to charisma and being able to break down people's walls. Because like in the modern century, like where we're at right now, like people have bigger walls than ever. Like they've built
Yeah,
up huge walls around themselves. They don't want to give anybody the time of day. They don't care what anybody else is going through. Like they just don't care. They're really all about themselves and all that stuff nowadays. And so it's hard to break through walls. It's hard to break through the barriers. But what you can do is embody one of these relationship roles with the lover, with the provider, with the friend. I think in the case of women and dating and all that kind of stuff too. And you can use that or even combine two of them to really have an advantage in this game.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And in the video, I did discuss that how you want to merge two of them. One of them is a throwaway. Um, Guys definitely
Right.
do this. Maybe we'll start with that one because I didn't talk about it in the video
Yeah.
because I don't feel like it's something worth even discussing, but maybe now on the live we do. So there's only three different ways a man can court a woman or get into a relationship with a woman. So you do have that lover approach where I say it's the Chad, the Tyrone, the Pookie. It's the guys generally that are very, very good looking. And in the lover approach, the idea for the man mindset for this. And again, you have one of the one of the have tos is physical appearance. If you're fat, balding, don't know how to dress, you're never going to be in the lover. It's just never going to happen for you.
You got to have a
So
certain style. Like, yeah, I mean, there's like really, it takes a lot of like understanding style, understanding like tension and leading into tension and that kind of stuff too, for sure.
yeah, it does. It does, but it really it's like, did God make you sexy? Did He make you good looking? I mean, that's really it because that's pretty much what the requirement is. Okay, so a lover's and here's the thing: a lot of guys think they're in that role. They think they're Don Juans. That they're a provider. 90% of the guys are providers. I'm in the provider guys. I'm not a fucking lover. I'm not out banging every girl I see. So the provider role, we're going to spend the most time in because a lot of people, a lot of red pill community says, "Oh, don't be a provider." It's nonsense. 90% of us fall into this role and for good reason. But let's talk about the other two first. Now, some guys fall in or think she rejected me. She just wants to be friends. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the friend role and I'm going to
Yeah.
wait. This is why I didn't really talk about this on that particular topic because this is the most toxic for her and for you and the most unhealthy for you. by
Well, I mean,
waiting it
it's
out.
completely ingenuine. Like it's like you're completely
Very.
hiding what your intentions are, and so like you're not being honest. There's no way to build trust in that relationship, and at the same time, too, like you're just going to end up being more and more and more frustrated because you're not going to understand exactly how to overcome her walls and like turn this into a conversation where you start to tell her that you're interested in stuff in her. And like that's something you should have been upfront about from the beginning. Because if you can't do that, then like yeah, I completely agree with it being toxic and ingenuine.
Yeah. And this video actually pairs into the latest video about beta bitch, the 10 traits or the 5 traits. So
I
really
like it. Yeah.
when a woman throws you into the friend zone, guys, you have to understand she views you as a woman, not looks wise. It's the way you're coming across. You're not very confident in yourself. You haven't gotten to the point with her. She may have found you sexually attractive at one point, but it's your lack of assertiveness that put you in the situation you are. So you have a choice. You can say, I agree. I will sit in the friend zone with every other douchebag and I'll wait. And someday she's going to see the wonderful wallflower that I am, and we're going to fall in love, and it's going to be beautiful. It doesn't fucking work that way.
I
It
think a lot
doesn't.
of guys fall victim to that too, because like I think maybe some of these guys do try to go after the lover role. They end up failing. They get rejected. Because here's the thing: like lovers, dude, like they can take rejection all day. Like they can take rejection and roll right into the next one, shoot their shot right into the next one. You see this a lot with the pickup artist community. Like these guys can just roll from one rejection to the next rejection to the next rejection until they get their thing, they get it through, right? Until they break through with it. But the thing is, too, is I think a lot of guys have a hard time with rejection. And then the thing is, too, is a lot of them will go from the provider role, too. I think a lot of them will like sit there and like say, okay, dude, like I got my own car. I've got my own house. Like, you could come over to my house in my car. It's like they start to try and play that provider role. And it's like, at the same time, like maybe that's not what she's looking for, too. It's like you got to kind of match what she's looking for. And this is why you got to get good with rejection, too, because you're going to shoot your shot, you're going to get rejected. And then you got to move on. You got to shoot your shot again. You're going to get rejected. Like it really is a volume game. That's why lovers play it the best. But I think in a lot of cases, men can't handle that rejection and they end up trying to play the friend role, just like you were talking about for sure, too. And they end up being really ingenuine with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the friend role is a role again. We're really not going to talk a lot about because there is no point in being a friend with a girl you're not sleeping with. There's zero reason at all. And I've done videos on this. I've argued with people. My arguments always win. There's
But
no
one big thing,
point,
too,
no
though, is
reason to
like
be a
that's
friend.
men put themselves in the friend role. Like the thing is too
Mhm.
is like it's really just a result of you not taking responsibility, you not leading, you not recognizing the tension and moving the conversation forward. It's really just kind of you being a little bit of a bitch. And so you don't really want to fall prey to that, especially when you're trying to be a man. Like you got to face it. You got to handle rejection. You got to have a certain amount of courage with it. And it's the only way you're going to build any kind of charisma or confidence and really break through and move past it. In a lot of cases, I think a lot of men never break past that barrier and they just end up playing this friend role and it's just ingenuine. It's toxic. They're not happy. The girls they're with are not happy. Nobody's really putting any sexual tension out there at all. In a lot of cases, these guys are just sitting at home jerking off. They can't even get laid.
Now, I will say, as a final note for the friend, there is one caveat that does work. You have to be a very high value provider. If you
Yeah,
have a shit ton of money and you're able to fly someplace or go on vacation, you have the ability to grab, say, Sarah, and Sarah kind of understands the deals like, listen, we're friends, we hang out once in a while, but there's really no other connection. Then by default, you are friends with benefits, meaning you're going to take her someplace. She understands they're going to maybe go to Florida, whatever. You can play that friend role, but you have to be a very high.
but that's more of a lover too, though, because like there's no strings
It's
attached
not a
here. There's no
lover. No,
commitment.
it's not a lover because a lover's role by definition is you're providing no assistance other than sex. Your
Okay,
assets,
I got you. I got you.
your provisioning is off the table. Lovers is the guy you meet at the club, you have some drinks, and you bang. That's it.
Sure.
Now the lover role, and we'll talk about that now. So the lover comes in. and he is just physical. And for him to maintain any type of relationship based on that physicality, he has to be good in bed. There has to be a connection somehow, usually physical. So these are the guys who Sarah calls at 2 in the morning when she just got dropped off by John and she's looking to get banged out. She's calling the lover.
Right.
She's calling the guy who has never bought her anything, who basically might even borrow money from her. It's not that he doesn't have money, because he might not have money. He might have a lot of money, but his resources are not available to her. That's the only definition
Purely
for
physical.
that
Yeah.
love rule. We're here just for sex. I don't care about you can't pay your rent. We're not going anywhere. That's it. Now, a lot of people like, oh my God, that seems like a harsh role. Well, it gets played out a lot. There's a lot of women who will agree to that at some point in their life. And it looks like this: women going through a divorce. This is why you have to watch divorced women.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Women going through a bad breakup. They're just looking to get pounded out by somebody. They don't care if you're a provider. They don't want a friend. The idea, though, for guys, what guys think in their mind is, oh, I can be a lover. Well, here's the thing about the lover has to be very smooth. They can make no mistakes because that attraction window is starting to close because you have to make it seem like it's your fault for what you're doing. She has to come into your story. This is why very few guys can even pull this off. And even look at your Brad Pitts of the world, these really wealthy men. They're not even in the lover role. They're in the provider role,
Yeah. Yeah.
high
Yeah.
end provider
Definitely.
role. It's a very small subsect of men. And that's why it's not always worth talking about it. But a lot of men think they're in this role. And it's like, no, dude, A, you're not good looking. And I'm talking about you have to be you it when I use sexy is a very relative term, but
Yeah.
more women than not, if you look at Johnny Depp, he has a sexiness about him that more women would agree to than not.
Well, and it's all in his
Okay.
frame too. Like that's the way he carries
It's in his
himself.
frame.
That's I mean, he values his hygiene. He values style. He values like all. He might even be a little bit androgynistic to a large extent too. I think a lot of these guys play that role, like Timothy Chalamet and like the freaking One Direction guy, Harry Styles. Yeah, I think they play that role too because like they're obviously straight, but they dress like they're women and they get women through. I think a lot of them play that lover role too. I think that's kind of what you're looking at with the androgynous style too.
They play the lover role, but they also have social proof. So they don't need to play the lover
Yeah.
role because they're socially proofed already. Women want them by default. I'm talking about your every average day guy, just your typical dude.
The Giga Chads.
Very few are going to fall into that lover role. Very few.
Yeah, no, I got you for sure. Yep.
Yep. And so if you're a guy watching this, you have to understand if you think you're a lover, but you're providing provisioning to her, you're a provider. You're not in the lover role by definition. Your assets, your resources are completely off the table in order to fall into this role. And so you might see it on social media, the red pill community. It gets a little tainted in this when you see like Andrew Tate's and stuff. Even Andrew Tate actually doesn't fall into the lover role. He actually falls into the high end provider role because when he is courting women, he's flying them all over the world,
Yeah, yeah,
using his
for sure.
resources to better their life. He's not even a lover. So it's a very small thing. I did talk about it more in the video so you guys can, you know, look more into that. What I want to talk more about is the provider role because it's such a huge role and it gets shit on all the time, but we're all in it. It's like anything else, it's just different sections. You're either a low value provider or a high value provider. And in that different things, there's different substacks. Maybe you're
Well, that's the thing too is like I think that like removing the fact that provider just means providing financial support. Like in a lot of cases, like you might be a low value provider in the sense of like you don't have your finances in order, but you're still providing a lot of emotional support. You're still there for everything. You're still there to take care of things and fix things around the house and that kind of stuff. You're there for security. It might not be finances, right? It might be something else in that regard, and that's where the lover completely separates because they don't provide any of that. There is no emotional
no.
support. There is no financial support. There's no security. They're out. Like wham bam, thank you, man. I'm done.
And so, like the person that you just described, they're going to fall within high or low. So maybe she makes the money, he doesn't, but maybe he's a stay at home dad. Well, he's
Yeah.
still in that provider role. He's just providing maybe daycare. So, we, more people than not fall into this role. And so, guys, don't think of this as bad. What becomes bad is how you play that role. Okay, because in this provider role, you still have your simps. That's such a big thing. All the simps are in this role.
Right.
Your
Yeah.
beta man, your alpha beta man, all of these guys are in this role. So the whole idea behind our program is you still want to become the best version of you for you first. Has nothing to do with the woman. You want to be your best provider. You want to provide for you the most money you can make. You want to provide for you the best
Well,
body
see,
you
and
can
I
put
would
on your frame.
argue that if it's not focused on you, like if you're focused on providing for her, or you're focused on like improving yourself for her, you're focused on going to the gym because she wants you to go to the gym. You're focused on trying to make more money because she wants you to make more money, and like you're going to make decisions that are going to make you miserable. Like that's the problem is if you're not the focus, you're going to make decisions in an effort to make her happier, and as the result is nobody's happy because if you're not happy, you're not going to provide in other areas as adequately as you could. You're going to fall short on a lot of things and you're going to be an inadequate provider. And so a lot of cases when what happens is like a lot of these guys I think end up exhibiting those friendship like habits too. Like let's talk about like nice guy syndrome, right? Like a lot of those guys end up being nice guys. They end up over providing in a lot of areas and they're not receiving anything back. And I think that a lot of this comes down to like understanding the different things that the lovers do too. Like I said, like leading and moving through sexual tension. Like that doesn't really have anything to do with the roles in general, because you can embody any of those roles and still be able to do that, except for the friend. You can't really be a friend and embody those things because it's going to lead to more commitment. And like that's the thing too. Is I think a lot of those guys are scared to kind of face that in a lot of cases too. Like a lot of them are always looking up content like how to get out of the friend zone. You see so much content on there like how to get out of the friend zone. It's like, well, dude, like grow a pair. Like all you have to do is face it and like be okay with the rejection and then move on and realize that she's not the only girl in the world. And so when you actually do embody that provider role, like you've got to qualify people for this. Like you don't want to just go and do that for anybody just to get into her pants because then you start to fall in that friend role, right? And so it's a fine line.
It is. And the thing with the provider is obviously you need to assess at what level the provider you're in, what level of provider you're at right now. So if you're not dating right now, well, this is actually a little bit better because then you can figure out, okay, what's the best out of all these different roles, what's going to give me the most success? Well, the provider is because more women, it's a give and take. Women want something in return for sex. They want something in return. It could be, again, it could be money you're provisioning, it could be your time, it could be your attention, it could be all of these things. You're providing something. So first you have to understand what is it that you are able to provide, and then what is it that you're willing to provide, because those are two very different things. You might be able to provide her with $1 million lifestyle, but you're only willing to provide X amount. Like you're not giving all of your resources to her. And that's fine, but you need to figure that out. Like, where are you at with your boundaries? Where are you at with your lifestyle? And what are you willing to provide? Okay. And then be vocal about that. Tell her, Like I like you. I'm not willing to do these things. So
But you got to be the leader. Like otherwise, you enter her frame. You got to make sure she enters
yeah,
your frame.
absolutely, absolutely. So if you look at it from that frame, if you again just take the lover and you're really good looking. So let's just say you're a really good looking guy, and I'm going to get off a lover again, but this is a good point. You're really good looking, you have a good mouthpiece. You're able to kind of pull. Like, listen, a lot of girls would be like, yeah, okay, it's go time. Not a lot. It could be out of 100, it might be 10%. So again, like Chase said, there's a lot of no's, there's a lot of rejections. Once you basically ask a girl, if you're in the lover role, let's be blunt. Once you basically ask, hey, do you want to fuck? And she says no, you can never go back to the provider role. You can never go back to the friend role. You just shot it down completely in
You got to move
ablation.
on. Yeah.
Right. So understanding that. So if you are in that lover role, you have to understand that I'm going to pass up on probably higher value women because they know their value. They're not willing just to sleep with anybody. Women that will fall for the lover role aren't generally, maybe in a season of their life, considered high value. Again, maybe there's emotional problems. There's going through a divorce, a bad breakup. There's something emotionally triggering about her that's willing to drop her value, willing to drop her morals to do that at that particular point. So she's not exactly high value at that particular point. So you have to understand that. If you're a provider, let's say you're reasonably good looking because you don't have to be gorgeous, but let's say you're reasonably good looking, you have a lot of money. You have way more options with women than any of the lovers because again, women want a win-win relationship. Listen, I'm going to enter in a relationship with you. She might be gorgeous. You might be conventionally not good looking. So your compensation package to her has to include more money, more provisioning, a better lifestyle. This is the way it works. This is the way all relationships work. I don't give a shit if a woman says, oh no, it's about his heart. The fuck it is. Because if he's really not that good looking, but he has everything else, some women will be like, I can't, he's not good looking. I can't do that. So you fall into different provider things. You might be a high end provider, but you don't look that good. Well, you're not going to get some women that want all of that. But here's the thing that we talked about in the beginning, the more you can level up, the higher provider you are. Now you actually have the choice. Now, women might be coming to you and say, this dude has out of 10 things I want, he has 9 of them. That's pretty fucking
Well,
good.
and I think that that's the thing too. Like one big thing that you talked about in the video was combining these two. And so I think that like a lot of men, they try to start out as a lover and they fail and they end up the friend, right? And so I think that that's what happens to most men. Like they get the rejection, they go, okay, well I can come in from another angle, and they end up taking the friend role in order to get in there because they weren't really a lover, right? They really just didn't qualify to be the lover, and they just struck out because that's such a small percentage of guys. But we all think that way because we're all really after the sex. Like that's what we really want from anything, right? And even when we're providing, like we're doing, like she's giving away sex and we're basically providing provisions, and it's just with one person. And so I think that in a lot of cases, like you end up being the provider. You can even start low level there, but also start to level yourself up, start to get to the gym, start to become better looking, start to get your style and stuff back. For one thing, you're going to be a lot more appealing to the girl that you're with. But for another thing too, like you'll be a lot more appealing to a lot of other people out there too. And so you can really start to move in and embody that lover role, because ultimately that's like the girl that you're with, that's what she wants. She wants both. She doesn't want just provisions or just sex. Like she wants both. Like she wants the lover and the provider, but at the same time, like you can come in as a provider and then start to embody that lover role.
Yes. That's what I did talk about in the video where you do want to take some elements of the provider. So you want to try to be as smooth as possible. You don't want to be a goofy bastard. See a lot of guys out there, there's goofy bastards. It's like, fuck. So you want to end up having that cool, that charisma, almost, and I call it like that James Bond type thing,
Yeah.
and that's part of that have some mystery about you. But what's going to get your foot into the door more times than not is being the provider and being the highest provider you can. Look at Elon Musk is not a fucking lover. He's probably the highest alpha provider. I mean, I don't know who else has more money than him, but he's in the provider camp too because he's not married. So I don't know if he's dating, I don't know if he's an alien, but my point is, he's not in the lover thing. So somebody who has that kind of money, he can be goofy, he can be kind of weird like he is. Somebody will still want to be with him
Yeah.
because of the value, the social proof he has, the money he has, the people he knows. He has everything other than a personality. And he does have a personality. I'm not saying that, but he just thinks like the dude's like autistic in a way. I think he just there's something not there. The gerbil's not really running all the time. But my point is, he's in that provider camp. But he's such a high end provider that women will overlook some of that shit. And be like, I don't give a fuck what this guy does. He go. You can't do that in the lover. There's
Right.
zero
They're not
error
going to
for the
overlook it.
lover, and you can't do that in the friend. The friend, they'll just be like, well, he's just a friend anyway. Whatever. So the only option you have as just a regular guy is going into that provider role and taking stock of where you are in your life. Okay, maybe I'm overweight. Well, I can fix that. The money's not bad. It could be better. I can fix that. My personality is a little dry. I can fix that. You can fix all of these things to get you from a lower level provider to a little more, a little more, and a little more. And every time you go higher, by default, the level of women that will start noticing you also goes higher.
Well, that's the one
So,
thing too. I think that a lot of guys got to get out of their mind is like, unless you're like a Giga Chad, unless you are like just the most drop dead gorgeous guy who ever lived, like they're not going to approach you. They're just not. Like in a lot of cases, they're just not going to approach you. Like whether they didn't notice you, whether they did or not, it's just not in a woman's nature to approach a man. And so that they just get that out of your head. Like you're going to have to get the approach down. Like you're gonna have to get to a point where you're okay with the rejection and you're okay with like just bouncing from one to the next and shooting your shot wherever you can. And then from there, practicing and getting better and getting better and getting better. And that's why it's important to be around like a group of men who support you too, because they'll tell you what you're doing wrong. They'll tell you what you can do better. They have experience with this stuff. They've been through it. They're geared towards the same stuff that you are and all that stuff too. Like that's why we always pride ourselves on the brotherhood and stuff that we've put together here, because like I said, you get that massive amount of experience from other men who are also trying to do the same thing. And in a
yep,
lot of cases, like I said, when they're breaking those things down for you, they'll look at that and tell you exactly what you're doing wrong, exactly where you can change, exactly how you can get a little bit better. And the more and more and more that you try, and the more you're okay with that failure at first, you're eventually going to get to a point where you're really confident and you walk in there and you're just the most confident guy. And that's what's really going to make you more magnetic, because then when you do approach, well, dude, it doesn't matter if you strike out because you're so charismatic that you can hold a conversation with anyone and then just move on.
right. And then the other part about being a provider, which a lot of people don't, I guess it's worth mentioning, is even though you're not the Giga Chad or you're not the lover, if you do meet a high value woman, she's actually willing to give you, like, you can make a few mistakes because she's not holding you accountable for just sex. She wants more from you. Look, if you're just a lover, she's kind of realizing, fuck, this dude didn't even buy me a drink. I bought the drinks. This dude doesn't call me. Like, only a very few are going to sign up for that. So, if you fall into that provider role, depending on what level you're in, she's still going to allow for some mistakes. Maybe you're a little bit too needy in the beginning. She might say, okay, like she might realize, okay, she's a very attractive woman. this guy's clearly, he's got a lot of potential. He's making a lot of money. He looks pretty good, but he's just not used to dating. Maybe he just went through a divorce. So they will give you
Yeah, yeah.
a little bit of a break. You're not going to get that if you try the lover approach. It's just not going to happen. You fuck up once, you're done. And so that's very defeating too. So it's not a good um, role to be in. Number one. Sorry, it's my daughter. If you can hear that.
Oh, that's all
Um,
good.
so it's not a good role to be in. And the other part about if you are in a relationship and you are a high level provider, it actually cements her in. Okay. Unless you're abusive, I'm not talking about that, but her hypergamy, yes, they're going to be hypergamous by nature, but she's going to look around and say, listen, okay, Jared works out, he makes good money, he's funny, like he's a good provider, he's a good, well rounded man. I'm not going to find any better. And then you have the frame, go find better. You'll be replaced inside of a month, tops. It's not being condescending. It's just like once you get to that level where you're able to provide what you want to provide to somebody and you've done all the work, you don't have this neediness about the girlfriend you're with. You're not like, oh my God, please stay.
Yeah, my life
You
goes
want to
on whether you're
leave?
here or not, man.
You're
Like I'm
like,
gonna be doing the same thing next week. So
yeah, honestly, it's like, and I know I'm probably a dick because I'm more detached, but that's how I view life. I'm like, okay, cool.
yeah,
So that's how you want to be. So the provider role is going to give you the best of both worlds. But it's up to you as the individual to take yourself from low level and get yourself. And a lot of men, now here's where the downfall is that we're going to display. A lot of men fall in that low level provider role. And then this is where you fall into right around that 80% of men are completely invisible. You're in the provider role. You're not in the friend role because you're already invisible in the friend role. You
yeah.
you you it's not the fact that you're invisible. She's still your friend. She's calling you because Chad just blew out her back and you're like, "Oh my God, I have to listen about this." You're not invisible to her. You're just not in her mind sexually. So, in this provider role, 80% of the guys are falling under in this radar where they're just completely invisible. They might
Yeah, you
have
just don't know.
minimum wage
Yeah,
jobs. They might have this mindset that they carry that I'm not good enough to get a woman. And so when they meet a woman, she can feel that vibe and she agrees with him. This is the part of the provider role that you have to escape. You want to be in that top 20, top 10%
and you want
provider
to
role.
feel like you are too, because how you feel, like what you think, is that's your limitations. You're building that reality around you, and like that's what you're going to put out to everybody. And everybody is absolutely going to agree with you. If you feel like you're a low value man, like yeah, everybody else is going to pretty much yeah, he's definitely low value. Mm-hmm.
Well, and again, you have your cognitive bias. So like you're always going to start searching for evidence to either confirm your low level or confirm your high level. So
Yeah.
part of the stuff we do in our coaching, especially with men who are going through a divorce, they're already confirming that they're low level.
Well, that's where a lot
They,
of red pill guys come into this too. Like a lot of guys will come
yeah,
in through like the Rollo Tomasi series. They'll come in through like Rich Cooper and those kinds of guys. Andrew Tate in a lot of cases too. And then they'll start to discover that like they've been lied to their whole lives. They've been lied to by society, by their teachers, by their counselors, by their parents, all the media, the shows, everything. And it's just like it pisses you off. Like the first thing that it does is it immediately pisses you off. And you go like, this is all a farce. Like every freaking woman is like is the devil, you know? And so you start
yeah,
thinking that way. And a lot of these guys, they get so mad because they just don't understand how to make a woman want them. Like they really just don't understand the dynamics of getting a woman and like really what she's looking for. And in a lot of cases, they've just been lied to their whole lives and they're programmed a certain way. And so it's hard for them to escape that programming. That's the biggest thing here is it's only going to come through experience. So you've just got to get out there and fail and be okay with failing. That's why it's important to have the brotherhood because they're cheering you on whether you fail or not. Like, dude, you freaking tried. That's awesome. Like, let's go. Like, get up. Let's get on to the next one. Like, you need people pushing you. You need that kind of accountability in order to really get anywhere. What I've found is people without accountability never achieve anything. They just don't. They're just not motivated to. They're going to talk themselves out of it. Like, Are you kidding me? There's somebody inside of your head that's trying to talk you out of everything all the time. If it's not what you did yesterday and like the last 30 days, last 3 years, it's going to talk you out of it. And so you need people around you pushing you and saying, hey, dude, like get out there and try again, try again, try again, try this and then try again. No, okay, dude, like don't do that. Try this and then try again. That's really what gets you the confidence and gets you out of that and reprograms you to a point where you don't always fall into that friend role.
Right. Absolutely. We did a segue as I started it in our free Facebook group. It's linked down below, guys, if you want to join that for free. I asked a very simple question on ego and how it's almost contagious or how you're addicted to certain things. And this actually goes into the segue about this and how that provider role. So we all have an ego. We all have an inner consciousness that talks to us, and it's either an upper level or a lower level. What I mean by that is ego can be good because let's say Chase and I are in high school together, and Chase got a 95 in his math, and we're exactly the same age. We're in high school, and I got an 85. Well, if I look at it and my ego is like, okay, what can I do if I go on the upper level of my consciousness and say, okay, Chase is no smarter than me. He must study different. Maybe I'll ask him. I want that 95. It's a healthy competition.
That's mindset. Yeah.
Or I can do lower level ego and say, fuck Chase. God damn, he must have cheated. But you know what? Jen in my class, she's fucking retarded. I'm way better than her. So you pull somebody else down to make yourself feel better. This is how ego works.
Well, that's the key too. Is like, are you self-focused or are you outward focused? Like, was it the other person's fault,
the whole
or was it my fault? Was it something I control, I can do, or was it something somebody else did? Right.
Correct.
That's the difference.
Well, this is how the dating comes in is, are you externally focused on results? Are you an externally focused or are you internally focused? And so the whole reason why I brought this up, because our next live will probably talk a lot about this, and I have some videos coming out on this, is you really want to listen to what's coming up inside. Listen to that ego, because your ego is actually an emotional defense mechanism, especially against.
Well, it's important too, because like, you have to think highly of yourself. Like, it is important for you to think highly of yourself.
But a negative emotion is where your body and your brain actually activate the ego in real time to stop that negative emotion. The positive emotions, where you actually do want to engage your ego, this falls into that mindset of that provider role. Okay, so I'm going to give an example of, let's just say you make the average American, let's just use the average white male in America is $52,000 a year. People blow their fucking mind. We're like, that's it. Well, everybody who tells you they make this amount and that amount, most of them are lying to you, because the average doesn't lie. But you see somebody who's doing better than you. But do you really see that? No, you see what they want you to see on social media. Maybe they bought a car. Maybe they're on vacation. You don't see how much debt they're in. This is the whole point of dating.
Or that they're worried the whole time they're on that vacation too. Like, that's the thing too, is like what I've noticed too is like people go on vacation, like they're sitting there worried about every little thing. They're taking all these great pictures and all that stuff too, and they're doing all these things and making it look like, but then they go home in massive debt and they're stressed the whole freaking time.
Well, you go into massive debt, but correlate this into, say, your dating life. Are you always worried? Are you always externally focused on, I'm in lack.
Yeah.
I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a boyfriend. Oh, the girlfriend I have, she's not as pretty as this girl that just walked by. You're still externally focused outside. That guy who just walked by, he's good looking. Maybe if you're a girl watching this, or gay, I ain't saying that. You're externally focused on everything outside of you, and you can't control any of that. All you can control is you, and you can't really control your ego, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You can't control your thoughts. Your thoughts are your thoughts. They come in and they come out, and it's how you respond to those thoughts is what activates an emotion, which activates a reaction, which then activates a result, good or bad, based on that reaction. Okay. So if you're trying to level up, say, just your dating, because the whole point of this is there's three approaches. We already talked about the lover approach. It's not a great approach for most people. And the friend approach sucks ass. Don't even get into that one. Well, then you have the provider. And if you have this thought, it's like, I don't want to be a provider. And we just produced you evidence that Elon Musk, all of the movie stars, they still fall into this role. Now you're like, okay, what part of this provider, this huge 90%, do I fall in? Am I in the 80% where I'm still invisible, or can I get into that 20%? And you can absolutely get into that 20%. And it has nothing to do with the way you look. It has nothing to do with if you're balding. It has nothing to do with the clothes you wear. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's your mindset. And one of the biggest things I help men is understand is your brain is so good at just reinforcing negative shit you've learned or been programmed all your life. Every time I talk to them about something, they're bringing me evidence that they're no good. They're bringing evidence that they suck. They're bringing me evidence that they just can't get the thing they want. And this is the thing that's holding them back. And so I want to let guys understand and understand and know this, that it doesn't matter if you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you have this kind of mindset, you're still going to be in that 80%. You're going to be invisible to women because you've largely closed off yourself completely. You shut down yourself with that limiting belief, with that mindset that I don't like me. So how can she?
Yep.
She's going to agree. Of course, yes, you're right. She has to
Yeah, you're
agree
not
with you.
likable. Yep.
Or I'm not worthy of her. And so everything you do when you talk to her is going to spew you're not worthy to talk to her. And then she has to agree because
Yep.
she feels that. What guys don't need, what guys understand, but they don't really get, women within seconds can pick up a vibe way faster than we can. And it's their feeling around you. It's not what you say, it's not what
And
you
you can feel
do.
it too. Like even like
It's
when you're
that.
trying to actually like have a date with a girl or something like that too. Like you can feel this certain like she's vibing or like I know she's vibing or whatever. Like
Mhm.
and then you know when they're not vibing. Like when they're then it's in their answers. It's in their posture. It's in all of it. Like you know they're not vibing. You're like, oh dude, I got to get out of this situation.
Well,
That's
that's the thing
painful. Like
they
it's a
don't
painful
know.
situation to be in.
It is, it is. But a lot of guys don't know that, and they muddle through and they go harder and harder
Yeah.
trying to prove. Now they're proving themselves.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to prove yourself to anyone, let alone a female. But the whole point is when you fall into this role, it's such a massive role. You're in this provider role. Ask yourself, what can I provide? What am I good at right now naturally? Maybe you are overweight, but you make pretty good money. I'm not saying lean in with your money, but you have that part down. You're successful enough, which means you have enough resources and enough skill in whatever it is you do to accumulate that money, or maybe you're in real estate. I don't know. So that part's working for you. So leave that to the side. It's already done. But what skills did you have to learn in order to acquire that money or that business? Those skills transfer right back into everything else because skills are skills.
Yeah.
Maybe you are really good at sales, but you clamp up when you talk to women. There's no difference. So when I start talking to guys, I'm like, you can talk this couple into buying a car, but you can't talk her into a date.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's the thing I
they
like about it
don't
too. Is like
correlate the two.
they do go hand in hand, and it's like it's relationship dynamics. Like it really has very little to do with like just women or anything in general. Like it has everything to do with every relationship in your life, with your family,
Right.
with your business, with partners and stuff like that too. That you would embody one of these roles in a lot of these cases, and most of the time it's going to be the provider role because what do you bring to the table? Like, why should I go into business with you? Like, what are you actually offering? What is this exchange, right? And so if you don't bring anything to the table, then like you're worthless. Like, what the hell? Why the hell do I even want to talk to you? And but that's the way people work. Like, if you don't bring something to the table, in a lot of cases, they're just like, well, why the hell should I talk to you then? Like, why should I even give you the time of day?
Right. And that's how women view relationships. And that's fine. I'm not throwing shade on women at all.
That's just
They're
people.
like, I'm coming in with these things. Now I hear women, you know, you ask them what they bring to the table, they get offended. Well, that just means they bring nothing but their good looks and just get rid of them because that's all they have. A woman who actually knows her value will rattle off, and she really doesn't even have to say it. You know what she brings. Like,
Yeah.
okay, she's a good cook, she's a good mom, but whatever. But you're correct, I think, in being being the best provider you can first for you. And then by default, she's already going to see what you bring to the table. What I found is the guys who have to lead with their money will always lead with their money for girls. And so they're going to attract a certain type of girl who just
Yeah.
wants money. A guy who leads with maybe just his body, well, that's good, but he might only get other gym rats. And that's fine. But now there's this competition, and it's kind of unhealthy because you're just too serious about this, but maybe they both suck with their money. You want to find and be the most well rounded guy you can in all realms. And so you already can take stock of what am I already good at? Leave that right now. Don't fuck it up, but maintain that. What do I suck at? All right, these are the things I need to work on because these things added to these things are going to raise me into this provider role where now I might get look at guys, you might be a solid six, you can get a nine. If the only thing detriment you have is you're not that good looking conventionally, but you have everything else, you can fucking A get a nine. You can get an eight. So you can get that. It's not just your looks, it's on what can you provide her? What is the compensation package look like for her to agree to those terms? This is it sounds business wise, but it is. It's not love, it's a fucking relationship. People get this shit wrong all the time. Like love, no. Relationship and then there's love. Relationship, then there's love. So if a girl is if you're courting a girl and she's sizing you up like this motherfucker makes good money, but he's ugly as hell. Some women will overlook that and like I don't really care about looks. We're all getting older
Well,
anyway.
like the thing is too is like a lot of women, like it depends on where you're meeting them too. Like, are you meeting a girl at the gym? Are you meeting a girl at the supermarket? Are you meeting a girl just downtown at the mall, just hanging out? Are you meeting a girl like going to cooking classes or something, doing some kind of hobby, out camping, out hiking, something along those lines? Like a lot of men, I think that the only place they're going to meet a girl is at the bar or at the club or something like that. You're going to meet a certain type of girl there, that's for sure.
Or
In a
online.
lot of cases, I think that like these guys will lead with like trying to have a deep conversation with her, trying to get her to talk more, that kind of stuff too, and then they end up not making their intentions known. They end up in the friends. Whereas if you want to keep the provider, you got to make your intentions known. Like you have to let her know, like, dude, I'm out here looking for something specific. Like I'm not just trying to be your friend here.
Right. So the whole point of that is within the provider role, you have 100% autonomy over yourself to increase your level or your state enough to get yourself to that level where you might be a six, but you could get a seven or eight. Conversely, you might be an eight in good looks, but you haven't done the work to provide anything else. You're just good looking. You want to, but maybe you have a dead end job. Well, you're actually going to lower your value because a woman's gonna be like, dude, yeah, he's good looking, but he works at fucking Starbucks. Like, there's no ambition in this guy. That brings up your level of provisioning. When you have ambition, when you have drive, when you're going places, you might be. good looking, you might have ambition, you might be fat as shit. It's not going to lower you as much as you think it is, because some women will be like, you know what? He can lose weight. Like she might be able to work with that. It's possible. Probability, probably not, but it is possible. Your level of provisioning is up to you. What level do you want to be at? But what I don't want you to do is think you're going to be Don Juan and jump into this lover role when there's no evidence that the lover role is going to ever produce you long-term lasting results. It might get your dick wet, but probably low-value women.
It's probably not a great woman. Yeah, it's probably somebody who's got emotional damage, something like that. Yeah.
Community property anyway. So what win did you get? Like, wow, Sally, everyone had her at the bar. Big fucking deal. Every key opens her lock. That means it's not a good lock.
The lovers never end up with high value women because high value women have self-respect and they won't just give it away to just anybody. Like they're going to make you break through the barriers. They're going to shit test you. And if you fail the shit test, like you're not the man she's looking for in that case. So you've got to be assertive in this and you've got to be decisive. Don't sit there in indecision. Like, dude, like you have to plan everything, especially like when you start taking her on dates and stuff too. If you're going with this role in particular, with the provider role, right? You need to set the date. Like, yeah, we're going here. I'm going to be there at this time. Make sure you dress nice. You let her get in the car. You make the decisions the whole time. Like, I'm having this. Like, don't at all ever let her make any decisions at all. That's what's going to show her that you're a good leader. And you got to be assertive in that too. And you got to make your intentions known. Like, hey, dude, I'm not looking for something casual here. I'm not just trying to be your friend. Like, let's go on a date. Let's see where this goes.
And that's right where we could leave off with this, where there are attributes of the lover role that you can incorporate. A lover is assertive. The lover does lead. The lover sees an end result. And so he's going to move that board into that end result. So you can incorporate what Chase just said, open the door for her. And believe me, I'll tell you the reason why I open doors for women. It's a compliance test. People think, oh, that's chivalry. No, it's a compliance test. If they wait for me to open the door, they're waiting on me. And so a lot of women are like, oh my God, he opened the door. No, I'm testing you. It's a compliance test. And I'm doing that for a reason. Because if she goes, I'm my own woman, I can open up my own door. I'm already effing done with the date.
Don't let her make
any decision. You can't even let me do that. We're going to have arguments about everything. That tests how feminine she is. That tests how submissive she is on something as simple as opening the door. These are things the provider, i.e. the lover, can pull in and merge this. And you can take that assertiveness and you can even go one step further. I did this with my girlfriend now. Like, I open the door and I tell her, you don't open doors when I'm with you, even doors to the restaurant. If I'm dropping you off and I'm dropping off the car, wait. It sounds like I'm being demanding. No,
what I'm doing. The high value woman is looking for that. That's exactly what she's looking for.
They want that thing. I don't think there's been a single time, maybe once or twice, where Kissy told, like, where we wanted to eat someplace. I usually just pick it. Like, we're going here.
Don't be indecisive.
We're going here. So you can merge some of the positive aspects of the lover role, being assertive, kind of leading. Not saying don't take no for an answer because I don't want to get rape charges on you, but there's no.
Well, I mean, push a little bit. Definitely, if she says no, she's not into it, and there's no vibe there, then move on. But like at the same time, push a little bit. Like push a little bit.
Push and pull. Push and pull. These are things you can learn. I mean, it's something I certainly don't teach, but there are certain things you can learn. But you want to merge these two so that you have some mystery about you. That's what that lover role. They're a little bit mysterious because they're not going to reveal their hopes and fucking dreams. Like I hear guys all the time saying, "You're a goddess. I love you. I would marry you." Like what? I'd vomit.
Read the laws or read the Art of Seduction. That's what that book is all about. The Art of Seduction, like how to tear down their walls, how to break through, how to utilize these different roles to actually get through their walls.
Right. So you guys can certainly do this. There are in our, and I think Chase, right, today is the last day or this weekend for our school
Sunday.
platform, $7 a month.
Sunday's
This
the
is
last
it.
day. It's going up to
Uh,
$50 a month after Sunday.
yep. I just did a whole, what is it, 5 series of like, was it dating profiles? The new video I just put in there.
Yeah.
So that's just one video, guys. I have another one. It's like 15 hours long in there.
Yeah.
$7 a month. Where are you going to go? We
We've
have
got a
blog
ton of
articles.
business courses coming through there too. So if you guys want to start a side hustle, now's the time to get in there for sure. There's a ton coming.
And you can interact with Chase and and you can interact with other people. And here's the thing, I actually get back to you. Like, I'm not so big that I'm not going to not talk to you. Ask anybody in the community. They're sending me paragraphs on what's going on in their life. I could easily say, dude, you need to book coaching with me because now you're trying to get shit for free. I don't do that. I'm like, dude, all right, here's what we need to do. I might lead them to a video first. Like, you didn't even open this video, and I just talked about this.
Yeah.
Open this first. But I'm here to help you, and so is Chase. But I'm here to actually help you guys bring some clarity to your life in an area that you're stuck in. And most people are stuck in what's called social dynamics. They're socially retarded. And I'm not using that as a bad word. They just don't understand social cues with relationships, with anything else. Power dynamics, social dynamics, it's the same,
Choosing
thing.
signals, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
But in any of it, yeah, when somebody, we talk about frame a lot, we talk about these things. This is all social slash power dynamics. If you can learn this and understand it, dating life, business life, personal life, family life, it's all social dynamics. You learn this, you're golden.
You become a
You don't need a
chameleon to like
coach for
any
this.
situation you end up in.
You don't need a coach for this. You don't need a coach for that. I just saw on Facebook I'm not going to say it because I think it's the dumbest thing, a breathing coach. I'm like, what the fuck? No, no, you don't need that crap. You need to understand social
Manifestation
dynamics.
coach. No, dude, like really, you just got to get on top of your life. You got to take action. You need people around you that force you to take action. That's all you really need.
That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this live. It's been a couple weeks since we had one. I want you guys to have an amazing holiday with your family, extended family if they're in town. Have a happy Easter, guys. Again, Monday or Sunday is the last day for the school. It's going to be linked down below. It's $7 lifetime. After that, it's $50, and probably in another month we're going to go up again. So get
Yes.
in now and enjoy all of the content that I keep dumping in there. I say I'm not dumping stuff in there
That's just it,
anymore,
man.
and
We've
I
put so
dump
much
more.
content in there that we've got to get paid for this time we're putting into this. And so that's the biggest thing is these prices are going up, and there's a ton more coming, and that's why these prices are going up because it has to make sense for us to keep putting this stuff out there.
So have a good holiday, guys. Talk soon. Bye.
Appreciate you guys.